What if I told you that one of the cleanest, richest, and most disciplined countries on Earth was once a dirty, poor, divided island with no future? No oil, no gold, no powerful army, no natural resources. Most experts said it would fail, but one man refused to accept that fate. His name was Lee Kuan Yew. This is not just the story of Singapore. This is a story about leadership, discipline, language, and vision, and how a single mindset can change the destiny of millions. Lee Kuan Yew was born in 1923 in Singapore, when the island was still under British colonial rule. At that time, Singapore was not a country. It was a crowded trading port filled with poverty, crime, racial tension, political confusion. People didn't dream big because survival itself was hard. Lee grew up in a middle-class Chinese family. His home was strict, education was serious, discipline mattered. From a young age, Lee understood something important. If you want control over your life, you must first control your mind. Everything changed in 1942. The Japanese army invaded Singapore. The British, who were supposed to protect the island, surrendered quickly. For Lee Kuan Yew, this moment burned a permanent lesson into his memory. Never depend on others for your survival. During the Japanese occupation, fear ruled daily life. People disappeared. Food was scarce. Violence was everywhere. Lee survived by adapting, learning Japanese, staying quiet, observing power. This period taught him, power respects preparation. Weak leadership invites disaster. Nations fall when people stop thinking ahead. After World War II, Lee went to England to study law. There, he saw something different. He saw efficient systems, strong institutions, clear rules, merit-based success. He realized something powerful. A nation is not built by emotion. It is built by systems. While studying in London and later Cambridge, Lee sharpened his thinking. He didn't just learn law, he learned how strong societies function. And he made a quiet promise. If I ever lead my people, I will build a country that works. When Lee returned to Singapore, politics was chaotic. Corruption was common. Unions were aggressive. Communal violence between ethnic groups was rising. Instead of choosing popularity, Lee chose competence. In 1959, he became Singapore's first prime minister. From day one, his message was simple but uncomfortable. This will not be easy. There are no shortcuts. Discipline will come before comfort. Many disliked him, but they listened. Lee Kuan Yew believed leadership was not about being loved. He believed leaders must tell hard truths. Long-term survival matters more than short-term happiness. Laws must be respected equally. He attacked corruption aggressively. If a government official took a bribe, even a small one, their career was over. No excuses. No forgiveness. Singapore began to change. Slowly. Strictly. Systematically. Then came 1965. Singapore was expelled from Malaysia. Overnight, the island became an independent country. Against its will, Lee Kuan Yew went on television and cried. Not because he was weak, but because he understood the danger. Singapore had no army, no resources, no guaranteed future. The world expected collapse. Lee chose resolve. We will survive, and we will prove them wrong. One of Lee's most controversial decisions was making English the main working language. Why English? Because English connected Singapore to global trade, allowed different ethnic groups to communicate, attracted international business. He didn't see English as culture loss. He saw it as economic survival. This single decision changed everything. Singapore introduced strict laws, clean streets, serious education, strong law enforcement. Critics called it authoritarian. Lee replied calmly, "A society without order cannot be free." Factories grew. Jobs increased. Foreign investors arrived. Trust replaced chaos. By the 1,980 Singapore shocked the world. From slums to skyscrapers. From fear to confidence. From weakness to global respect. Lee Kuan Yew didn't create miracles. He created systems that worked. Leadership is often shown as power and applause. But Lee Kuan Yew learned something very early. True leadership is lonely. After independence, Singapore faced impossible questions. How do you unite people of different races? How do you build an economy with no resources? How do you survive when stronger nations doubt you? Lee knew that popular decisions would destroy the future. So he chose unpopular ones. Singapore was deeply divided by race and religion. Chinese, Malay, Indian. Each group lived separately. Each group trusted its own people. Lee feared one thing more than poverty: racial violence. He believed that if people stayed divided, the nation would fail. So he introduced multiracial housing policies. People were not allowed to live only with their own race. Families protested. They said, "This is unfair. You are controlling our lives." Lee responded clearly, "Without unity, there is no Singapore." Over time, neighbors learned to live together. Children grew up together. Trust slowly replaced fear. Lee Kuan Yew believed education was not optional. It was survival. Schools were redesigned to focus on mathematics, science, engineering, English communication. Teachers were respected. Students were pushed, not gently, but seriously. Lee once said, "A nation that educates poorly has no future." For ESL learners, English was not just a subject. It was access to the world. Western media criticized Singapore. They said, "Too strict, too controlled, too authoritarian." Lee listened, but he did not change course. He believed freedom without order leads to chaos. You cannot build a stable house on loose sand. Crime dropped. Trust increased. Efficiency became normal. Singapore became known as clean, safe, predictable. Businesses loved predictability. Lee understood global psychology. Investors do not invest in emotions. They invest in stability. So he promised strong contracts, honest courts, zero corruption. If a minister broke the law, punishment was public. This shocked the world. Trust followed. Factories opened. Ports expanded. Technology arrived. Leadership cost Lee deeply. He worked long hours. He slept little. He carried constant pressure. He once admitted, "I gave my life to Singapore." Family time was limited. Privacy disappeared. But Lee believed leadership was service, not privilege. By the 1,990 critics grew quieter. Singapore had one of the world's highest incomes, one of the safest cities, one of the strongest education systems. Foreign leaders came to study Singapore's model. Lee did not celebrate. He warned, "Success can create arrogance. Arrogance destroys nations." The hardest moment was not building Singapore. It was maintaining discipline after success. People wanted comfort. Lee demanded standards. He stepped down carefully, ensuring strong institutions remained. Because true leaders prepare the future without themselves. Great leaders know how to rise. Legendary leaders know when to step aside. After decades of intense leadership, Lee Kuan Yew understood a rare truth. A country must be stronger than any single man. Instead of holding power forever, he planned carefully. He trained younger leaders. He strengthened institutions. He ensured rules, not personalities, guided the nation. When he stepped down as Prime Minister in 1990, Singapore did not shake. It continued. That was the proof of real leadership. Even after leaving office, Lee remained a quiet advisor. He did not rule from the shadows. He did not seek applause. He focused on long-term planning, global risks, human capital. He warned Singapore again and again. Comfort is dangerous. The world does not wait for slow nations. This humility kept Singapore alert. Presidents, prime ministers, CEOs. They all came to Singapore to learn. Why? Because Lee proved something powerful. A small nation can outperform large ones with discipline, education, and trust. Harvard studied Singapore. American universities taught his strategies. Not because he was perfect, but because his results were undeniable. Some critics still argue. Was he too strict? Did he limit freedom? Lee answered calmly. Freedom without responsibility destroys societies. He believed Western democracy could not be copied blindly. Every country needed its own culture, its own discipline, its own solutions. This honesty made him respected even by critics. Lee Kuan Yew was not cold. He loved his wife deeply. Her illness affected him profoundly. In his final years, he spoke openly about aging, loss, and dignity. He reminded the world, even strong leaders are human. This vulnerability made his legacy deeper. When Lee Kuan Yew passed away in 2015, the world paused. Not because a politician died, but because an era ended. Singapore stood as living proof of his vision. From third world, first world, chaos, order, doubt, confidence. One life changed millions. From this entire story, remember, leadership lessons. Vision matters more than popularity. Discipline creates opportunity. Education is the strongest investment. Language opens global doors. English learning lessons. History improves listening comprehension. Stories build vocabulary naturally. Clear thinking creates clear language. You may not be a prime minister, but leadership begins with your habits, your discipline, your learning mindset. Lee Kuan Yew started with nothing, except clarity and courage. So can you. If this story inspired you, like this video to support educational storytelling. Subscribe to learn English through powerful real history. Comment below. What single lesson from Lee Kuan Yew will you apply in your own life? Your comment helps others learn and helps this channel grow.